Good morning, guys. Sorry I'm late. Let's just hit it. Let's get into it. All right. But first and foremost, most important thing for us to deal with is what's going on in the ES more than anything. We've got a bunch of names we have to go over, and we'll deal with those names. But most importantly for us is just what's going on with the index and then how are we going to adapt to it. So for me, the most important thing about the index is this. Here you are in the hourly. Let me just pull this down so that we can get into it. The most important thing for me is just that overbought's completely worked off already. And you can see the stair stepping that we went through yesterday. But here we are, and we're just holding that 50 on the RSI, which is what we want to see. This still kind of like haunts my dreams a little bit at night, how we're still grossly overbought here on the ES on the 4-hour. It doesn't make me feel warm and fuzzy. I felt warm and fuzzy before. It doesn't feel like this. But this is really what happens. Now, if you think about it on the hourly, this is all that we got. This is everything. Good morning, Journal. This is all that we really got out of it, right? We got a flag. So that's not the worst thing to work off the overbought, and all we got out of this was a flag, right? That actually tells you something. So that is something that I would be paying attention to for sure. I certainly would want to watch this and see how this goes. I think that there's definitely something to it. So it is what it is, and then we'll go from there. And I don't know, I pay attention to that, and then we'll just see how it goes. But even here on the 4-hour, you're still overbought, but nobody cares. I mean, people are so out of position, I don't even know that they can care. Everyone's just so net short. I'm sure everybody knows that at this point, right? We've gone through that ad nauseum, but I just don't know how they're going to put themselves in a position where I just don't know how they're going to put themselves in a position where they hold on one second. Let me pull this back. Let me pull this back up and pull it over here. Where they're just not buying. In other words, how do you get yourself out of this if you're net short? And I really don't have a great answer for you there. I don't think they really have a choice. So this is something that I think we should pay attention to for sure. It's certainly something that I'm paying attention to. This is one of the, the graphs that I think, really hammers things home for people if they wanted to take a look at it. Here, I'll drop it in real quick. I have another one that explains this somewhere too, but this one will get us there, and you'll understand where I'm going with this. But so this is a graph by Goldman, and what it's really pointing out is a couple things. Okay, first, this is where you're long all alpha names. So people are not long; they're net alpha, and their short positions are the highest that they've been on the year. So when I say everyone's out of position, that's what I mean when I say everybody's out of position. So that's definitely something that you're going to want to focus on and pay attention to. It's definitely on my radar for sure. I have another one here I'll show you. I think these are important. This is by JP Morgan, I think. And let me pull this out of the way. We're going to get into the pre-market stuff, but I think this is really important for people to get what the heck is going on out there. So if you look at global leverage for all strategies, here's net leverage in blue. Here's gross leverage in orange. Here's your Z-score of a 4-week change in net leverage on all strategies. 4-week Z-score, net leverage on all strategies, okay? And you can see where you're at, right? And how low you were. You were back to pandemic levels. Look where you are on net levels, just net levels on the market, right? So you're in an area that on a 12-month time frame is in the 12th percentile. You look at where you are, this screen's going to be out of focus for me showing this. I don't think there's any way around that. But maybe it's just for you. I don't know. But you see what's going on like right here? See where you're at? You're at 3-year lows on net. So people are grossly out of position. Maybe that's one of the reasons why we're seeing the Microsofts and the Apples run, because they're more comfortable just buying those names in case they're wrong. They know that they'll come back. So we'll go from there. And let's get into it. Yeah, I think you have to look at some of that stuff. I do. I do think that we've had a good run, but I think it's far from over. I think once you work off the overbought, we're going to rip. Or yeah, I do. I think when we get off the overbought, we're going to rip. I don't see any other solution. Like, I don't know what people are supposed to do here. You can't buy. See, the thing is, like, if you look at like institutions, right, and you start looking at the assumptions of institutions, there's only so much that they can do, right? And so they have to start looking at this and saying, okay, well, what exactly are we going to do? How are we going to handle that? Our assumptions are over on the bond market. We've made a killing. Do we take it? Do we not take it? Right, that's the first thing. In regards to like MicroStrategies, out of all these names, this one makes the most sense to me. It always has. And to me, yeah, you're setting up to basically be a face ripper, in my opinion. But you have to have like pretty steel hands to hold this one. As far as earnings, I could really care less about them. I mean, you broke out, pulled back to your breakout line, and then just ripped. And now you've got the 55, 22, and 12 lined up perfectly. Very similar to here, right? And then how they exploded before the crack. But it's really difficult to look at that and go, do I want to be out of that? No, there's no reason to get out of that. Look at this on a weekly chart. I mean, I see it. Look, I've been looking at it. I think that this is it's very different valuation than what's going on here, right? Very different. So people need to understand they own the underlying asset. They're valuating the business of this company at basically zero, which is just crazy. Do you buy Bitcoin? I mean, you can go for it. I mean, to me, it looks very clear that you're probably going to come in if you start looking at how this is starting to roll. But, this thing's so manipulated. Who the heck knows what it's going to do? It is what it is. Maybe it rips, maybe it doesn't. For me, I need this thing to collapse to like, if I want to buy some and like store it away, it needs to do something like this where nobody wants it versus here. But I look at Bitcoin the same way that people look at gold, that, you want to buy it and just forget that you have it kind of thing, not you want to trade it. And that's kind of how I look at Bitcoin. And I think it's becoming very clear that it's going to be Bitcoin, right? You're starting to see like ETH and people are like, oh, it's this one. It's not this one. So I think it's going to be Bitcoin. It's just going to be the standard. I think that's becoming pretty clear. And if you can make it through the FTX nonsense, then I think you're going to be okay here. So I like MicroStrategies. I like Michael Saylor, dude. Like I met the guy once 20 years ago. He's he's a genius. He might spin that off and just create a completely different company out of that entire position. It wouldn't surprise me at all. You had another name I really want to go over here. I was looking at this, and big guys looking at it in the room. I don't like the volume. I know you have decent volume on the break. There's a couple things here I really like. There are particular patterns here I really like. And there are movements out of those patterns that I really like. So like when I have a pattern like this, okay, and I come out of it like that, you have my attention. I don't know. Here's where I was slipping on this one, John. I'll show you. This is above all my relative levels, all my standard deviations. It's above everything, right? I don't know why I'm not comfortable with that bar and why I'm saying it's not enough. But that's what I was talking about privately. I'm like, that's not enough volume. I don't know why I'm thinking that. Right? I need to check myself on that because that's a decent amount of volume. Like that's more volume than we've had in 30 days, except for here. And maybe that's what I'm equating it to. Maybe I'm equating it to the fact that how are we going to break out here if it didn't break out there? I don't know. I've got a mental block over the volume for some reason. It's just, I noticed it this morning when I was talking about it. So, when you start learning yourself, you start picking up those like why do I have a bias? Like, I know it sounds stupid, but you look at it and go like, why do I have a bias against that volume bar? And for some reason I do, but it is what it is. I do like Dell's quarter. I think they crushed last quarter. And I think that's what people are playing, John, into it. WM. I don't know. I mean, it's kind of hard not to like that chart, but I don't have any volume there. So I like the other thing. Hey, there she is. What's up, Mary? Netflix, Tesla. So, so here's my problem right here. And Hold on one second. I got some questions here. Oh, I gotta figure it out. All right. Sorry, I had a trade. I'm trying to figure something out. 10 different things. Sorry, man. The ADD kicked in there. All right. So if we take a look at 218.74, you really want to be that person that's buying that? So the more I think about it, the more I am probably going to write a book. You need to watch this, Mayor. When you get this kind of nonsense here, you say it, you see that nonsense? See what they're trying to do to you? Like right here? Over and over again? Like when you see that, I mean, it doesn't get any clearer where your level is. This is not where I shorted it yesterday. We had guys in the room that did better than me, got better entries than I did, which actually makes me proud. But I wanted to wait until I saw something else. But once I got to 215, that was it. I think you're wedged in here. I do. I'll show you where I think you're wedged. So you have this reversal right here. Forget the 200 for a moment, Mayor. Let me just get rid of that, guys. I think you're wedged. I think you're wedged in here. I think you have a 10-point range. So this reversal right here, the gap down, okay, after the gap up, the gap down that didn't fill, and the amount of volume that came in this day, this is why I'm so big on volume. Volume rules everything around me, right? Right here. And so you reverse, and then you try to break out, complete Matumbo. Once we did this, and I've got a bullish engulfing that led to this little megaphone pattern there. It was on like Donkey Kong for me. So, and I did it before it happened. And then when it got down here, I closed it. I walked through that. I'll walk through the whole trade tonight. What do you do now with it? You're in a 10-point range. And right now you're battling the 200-day moving average. I think there's better trades out there. So like the other one you brought up, Mary, was this Netflix, right? Now you look at Netflix and you go, okay, we crushed the CFO sandbag the quarter. We're looking right here on Friday. All right, that's what I got on Friday. I got a dragonfly sitting at the top of a channel. Okay, like this thing's ready to rip people's faces off. I mean, there's really no other way to say it. Like this is like a perfect setup. My issue is this. I have no volume. Now, what happens here? Now, this is where it gets interesting. If I have no volume, right, and this is kind of how you have to think about the world. If I have no volume and the stock's doing that, what happens when I do get volume? Because clearly, if I could like, and this is where critical thinking comes in. If I can move higher off of this pittance of volume, what in the world is going to happen when I have an above average volume day, right? So if you think about it from that perspective, do I care that there's low volume there? I do, but I also have to respect the earnings, the world, and what's going on here. So I would keep that in tune. I think that this bar, if you look at that bar, I think it's very telling on how this could play out. But that's just me. Out of the two names, I think people are going to want to know why. Like I think limited partners that are in large institutional pools of capital are going to want to know why their general partner could not realize that Netflix was a buy, more so than why do you own Tesla? And you have to start thinking about that as you're going into the end of the year. I would be leaning towards Netflix. Long answer, but there's a lot going on there. Mary came in at 7 to get that in today. Buenos dias, AI. Dude, you're going into earnings. You know better than this. You're going into earnings. Dude, you know so much better than this. You're so much better than that, Dan. Like you're going into earnings. I don't know. I have no idea what's going to happen there, man. And now you got a reversal, and now you're down in the trade. You already know the answer, dude. You already know the answer. If I took out that lower low, I'd be gone. It's on you, what you do with it, but you already know your answer. I think NVIDIA will boost the put. Okay, but here's the thesis. So if NVIDIA is going to be good, right, and NVIDIA is going to boost the market, then why aren't you buying NVIDIA? Like, you'd be better off going out there and saying, what are the 500s on NVIDIA, right? Whatever they are, I don't know. Go find a strike after earnings. NVIDIA 510s, 520s, whatever. You don't think NVIDIA is going to trade up into the quarter? It's going to trade up into the quarter, right? So and the implied vol is going to kick up into December. Like that, I could see you doing something like that. But AI, I have no idea what happens there. I thought AI was going to actually rip yesterday, and I was dead wrong on that, on all those small caps. So that's how I would look at it, Dan. If I was down, I'd be out. I thought so too. I thought UPST was going to rip yesterday too, John. What's up, Kay? I've been saying that I think we're going to hit a high by the end of the year. I don't see what's going to do it. I don't think we're going to have enough juice. What's going to get me there? Two wars? NVIDIA's earnings? I need a massive bond rally and the dollar to really sell off to get me there. I'm running out of time. I'm running out of time. And I'm not sure that we're there. I'm not sure I'm going to say it. So, look, the Dow might say it because you're only 7% off, but am I going to get that, move here? I don't know. I don't know that I am going to get that or not. I really don't have an answer to that. I think the Dow has a better chance of it. I think the NASDAQ has a better chance of it because the NASDAQ is going to rip on NVIDIA. Like it rip. Like if they solidify AI and all this nonsense goes away, like the NASDAQ will rip. The stocks will rip. I don't know. I don't know that we're going to get there with everything. And here's why I'm saying that. Like, I don't know what's going to happen with energy. How are you doing that? Why can't you just give me what I want? Why are you being difficult? Oh, this is exhausting this morning. I need this like I need a hole in my head. I hate when these people play with their little algorithms to make things better, and then they make them worse. Okay. I got to figure out there it goes. Oh, for God's sake. I'll figure it out how to get to it again. I don't know why they play with this crap. But crude's been coming down. Look at energy names. Energy names are what, 15% of the index? I mean, that's not looking good. Look at the exploration names. I always find it fascinating because, like, what do they know that we don't know? Because they know something, right? Like, why are you dropping in the middle of two wars? Now, Ukraine's going to come to an end, apparently. I guess they've had enough. I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole. But I don't know. I don't know that we're going to be there by then. What's up, Ian? Trade to win, brother. All day, every day. What's up, Q? What's up, GM? Hey, Kat. I don't know. I don't know that you're there, man. You think you're there? What's going to knock us down? What's going to walk me through it? What makes us drop? Earnings were good. They weren't great, but earnings were good. Bond market's rallying. Dollar stabilized. What gets us down? What gets us down there? I don't see it. Even the secondary earnings that are coming out are crushing. D-Dog, right? Celsius, which I never see anybody drinking. All I hear is people talk about how everybody's drinking this. I don't know. Maybe Miami's too cool for Celsius. I never see it. You got a bunch of names here killing it today. I have a bunch of them down here. And I want to watch this one today. Is that it? VTYX. I want to watch this today. Yeah, this name just trades too thin for me. I see it. I don't know the correlation between this and D-Dog. I would say that they missed earnings last quarter, so a lot of people aren't going to rush into it. I'm below the 55, so I don't have institutional support. D-Dog is now about the same thing. So very similar looking chart. You're right. I don't know. I don't have a really good read on that, man. It's not something I would play. I see too much nonsense. Besides all my moving averages, look, I mean, I've got this little nightmare right there. That doesn't make me feel warm and fuzzy. I got that little nightmare right there, right? It's like nightmare after nightmare. Like, why am I rushing into that? Right? So I don't know, Neil. That's not for me. What's up, Steve? DraftKings I like a lot. The action yesterday was awesome. Just absolutely awesome action. And on top of that, like here, like this kind of stuff, when I see this, let me show you this. This I love. Like, here's the 15, right? Now watch this. Right? Doji, inside Doji, inside Doji, inside Doji. Like, it's almost a picture of, like, do you ever see that Vince McMahon, meme where like his head explodes because like his eyes is like, this is just, I mean, this should be in a textbook. Like, this is just beautiful, right? You have a doji, which creates uncertainty. You have a smaller doji, smaller, and then boom, like it was the easiest trade in the world. Like that was such an easy trade. That made a decision, man. That fought there for an hour. That's a decision right there. And I think that decision is to go higher. We're in this, we're in this in the community. We're doing okay with it. I think you're going to rip. I really do. If the market holds or goes sideways, this thing's going to just rip. They had a great quarter. I mean, hard to find a flaw in that quarter. Yeah, I was in and out of it already. I didn't listen to the call yet. Earnings were off the chain. And you know what else happened, Ian? The amount of volume pre-market was crazy. So definitely something to watch. Never hope. Hope is not a strategy, Sneed. It's exciting. It's always exciting times. If time IDCC. Let me see what I can do there if I can come back to it. I'm not trading that today until it settles down or I at least get a bar that I can work off of. I've seen too many times, like my biggest problem with this name, I was talking about this earlier to somebody. All right, we have good earnings. We break out. All right, then I stay in that bar for 3 months. Okay, I break out. And then I'm in the same range for 3 months. I break out. Same range for 3 months. It's exhausting. The only way for me to play earnings, from my experience, there's a couple different ways to do it, right? I can do fundamental analysis and then make an educated guess on earnings. But then I have to take into some variables. I have to go on the assumption that I'm correct about the earnings. Then I have to go on the assumption that I am correct, that the stock's going to move the way that I think. And then I've got to be correct that all that is going to be received well. The conference call is going to be received well, and that guidance is going to be received well. I need all those three things to line up in order to place something into earnings. So the amount of variables, right, that are independent of one another, playing something into earnings is significant. So usually if I do like fundamental analysis, I'll make a bet and do it that way. But usually I want to be up technically like 10% in the trade before I even think of staying in it. So I used to trade names like into earnings, do the research, come up with an idea, because the biggest moves are earnings. The problem with that is if you're wrong, it can get ugly fast, real fast. Uber, I think Uber's got some problems here, guys. I think you got a lot of people out there that love the Uber name, and there's some real issues there. If your revs are down now, you have a problem. You have a real problem there. What's up, Tess? So we'll go from there. What's up, Jesselyn? I've call option test. I'm really worried. A couple things, Jesselyn. One, if you're worried because you don't have confidence, right? Like I keep thinking about like writing a book, but I keep wanting to do one. The more I talk about it, the more I find like it's the mental blocks that are just killing people. What's the right way to answer this? If you're worried about that, then you already have your answer, right? If you're in calls and you're asking me, means you're down. You're not asking me because you're up in them. So you're down. And now the next question is, what's your process, right? I have no idea what that does today. If I was down in calls, I would not have held them overnight, most likely, unless I expected news. So now your hope is that you hold in here. And when do they expire? When you guys ask me questions about calls or stuff like that, you should always just, the more detailed your question, the better I can answer it, Jesselyn, just in the future. I would not be feeling warm and fuzzy about owning calls here. That's just me. It doesn't mean I'm right. And we all know how Tesla trades. Every time it looks like it's going to break, it just rips to just smash people's hopes and dreams. So I'd go from there. Someone gave me money. I can go buy coffee now. Sam, can you please go over PLTR and their earnings? People are now paying me to go over Palantir. All right. And their earnings, I got to go take a look at them. I'll look at them for you, brother. We'll get into it. Let's go through this. What's up, Sue? Good morning. D-Dog looks good. Snow, I'm not a fan of here. Charles, we're just not saying it. We're just not seeing it. The lack of pullback is staggering, and the bond auction's going better than we think. Depends on the strike. 5 million's nothing. I mean, 5 million's nothing in SPY calls. There she is. I like Rivian, and I like their calls, and I think that they'll do okay. I think they're going to be around. I think they're a Cybertruck killer. If you want my opinion on it, I really do. I think that's the SUV you want to drive. I don't care if somebody shoots arrows at my car. Like if someone's shooting arrows at my car, I've got other issues. The housewife taking the kids to soccer and worried about the environment does not want to be driving the apocalypse vehicle. So I think that they're the Cybertruck killer. Let's keep going. Rob, I don't know that they're going to give me Toronto Exchange stuff on here, brother. I might have to switch to another system. And I think I'm going to be delayed on anything that I tell you that I'm looking at. I think I'm going to be delayed here, man. The earnings look really good, but I can't in good faith tell you that I'm looking at the right data. Because I think I'm delayed on Toronto. I might be delayed here, dude. So it's really hard for me to tell you that. If I'm to look at that chart, like there's nothing that I'm really going to add there. It's an absolute monster, and the earnings are really good. So, go from there. Let's see here. What's up, Brian? What do you got? I agree with that, Darwin. I think we could be, yeah. I mean, if someone's got to explain to me why it's trading at 50 times earnings now, right? If the growth is gone. Yeah, I agree. I would look at those names. That CRM, sorry. I don't touch any of the airlines. I would just buy jets. ALK has the best balance sheet. ALK has the best balance sheet. I wouldn't touch these. They all trade together. That has the best balance sheet. But I wouldn't trade any of these. Now, you might be there. You might be at the tail end of that. Give me a minute. Yeah, I mean, you're washed out there. So you might be washed out there, dude. That's not my kind of trading, but you could be washed out, Bri. It's a simple enough trade, isn't it? Right? I mean, simple enough. You get into the gap, get out, and then don't touch it again until it gets back over. Simple enough. NVO, I have tons of book recommendations. I'm going to do a video on all the books. And I'm actually going to put a newsletter together and put them all out there as well, like a document. So you guys can just click the links on them. I wouldn't touch that. I got too much going on there, Terry. Google looks good. I like it. I need more coffee too, my friend. All right, can we please go over Palantir and their earnings? Yep, let's do it. Let's wrap this. Let's bring this home. I'm not a fan of the company. I think what they did and the conference call that they had was excellent. I'm not a fan of the company because there's too many shares outstanding. Whenever we get up to here, we run into a problem, right? There's very little that I'm going to add on the fundamental side. They gave great guidance. They beat on the front. They gave a great conference call. I'm not adding any value there by telling you something like that, Sam. Just FYI, right? Like, you know that already. The question becomes, technically where your seller's at, right? So if you take a look at this, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to drill into a little bit of a longer time frame. So I see the break. Okay, so I've got that DTL break. But what you do is you come here and then you draw that, right? And now there's your neckline. Okay, so I'm going to clean all this off and let's drill into it here, right? And let me just hold on one second. And we'll do, when I say drill into it, we'll do no pants for Mary. There she is. There it is. Okay. So when we're in there, right? What's happening? So resistance and support flip, right? We all know this, right? What's happening there? You've got resistance. That's your battle. That's your real battle. If you're thinking about like, okay, how can I add value? It's not going through the quarter, dude. Like, the quarter was good. Everything was good. Are you going to be able to get through this? And then if you take a look at like the most simplest of things, right? Like, I'm not going to use like the cloud EMAs. I'm not going to use a lot of this stuff. But if I go to here and I overlay this, I have the potential for this to turn. That's what that cloud's telling me. So, yep, it could turn. All right. So then you'd go and say, okay, well, that could turn, but that's not giving me a time frame. That's just telling me the way that we're going. So then you drill into this. And I get rid of these moving averages for now. And I close these. And then you look at this, Sam, and you go, all right, let's get rid of this. Let's get rid of this guy. It makes me uncomfortable. And now all of a sudden you're starting to turn up, right? So I would be paying attention to that more than anything. You could also drill into this and go, okay, well, what are we doing on the weekly? Well, I'm getting the volume, but I'm not really there yet. So I could keep moving. Like, we're not set up where this is taken at a higher high and this isn't flipping. But that's your battleground, Sam. That line is everything. 1865. Like, if you can get over 1865 on a weekly chart. So let's just be real clear about this. All right. Just so we're on the same page. Like, your close here was 1889. Your high was 1908. You need a higher weekly close. Forget the high, right? Forget the high. You need a higher weekly close than 1889, technically. And if you get that, then you would just use this previous bar as support or resistance. So hope that helps you, Sam. If you have more questions, just email me. All right, so to Jess, I got to go here. What do you got? Do you mean typically what? That depends on you and how you trade, Jess. They're big questions. I mean, I don't hold them. Very rarely am I holding an option I'm down in that day. I should have shut the battery pack. I think on pullbacks it is. I don't have a chart that looks as good. I don't. Twillo, I can't. I don't have the time. I see. Let's do it. When are earnings? Let's do it tomorrow. I got to jump, guys. I'm late. Trade to win.